Hannah Lawrence. I'm a licensing manager at Jisc. I work in the teaching, learning and assessment stream of licensing. Thank you very much for attending this webinar to launch and celebrate the licensing partnership between TeacherMatic and Jisc. So after 2 successful pilots in collaboration with the Jisc AI team and a third in the works, we are incredibly pleased to finally have this partnership in licensing with TeacherMatic. After countless great member feedback, we're really pleased to have the ability to provide you, our members, with simplified purchase of this tool through the CHESS platform. The ongoing commitment that we see from TeacherMatic, especially through the pilots, to develop their product due to member feedback is commendable, and we are really pleased to nurture this partnership long term and in the future based on your feedback and the license working together. So today, in the next hour, you will hear from Peter at TeacherMatic, who will provide the product demonstration and overview of the tool. Laura and Catherine from the University of Chester, they'll discuss their experiences of using TeacherMatic firsthand in a HE setting. And then Amanda from Burley College, who will share experience of use in the FE setting as well, which is great. And then it'll be me, unfortunately, at the end to give an overview of the CHESS platform and how you can order. So you'll be hearing back from me then. So any questions in the chat, please, and we will answer questions verbally at the end, but do continue to pop them in there as you think of them, because I know it's easy to forget. Okay, so that said, thank you again, and I'll hand over to Peter.
So thank you very much for coming along today. I'm just going to speak for 10-15 minutes. That's going to give you a very, very quick overview of TeacherMatic and a very quick demonstration. So we call TeacherMatic the user-friendly AI platform for education, and I'm the managing director of one of the 4 founders behind TeacherMatic. So firstly, why TeacherMatic? Why should you consider TeacherMatic? Why did we develop TeacherMatic indeed? There are 3 sort of key points that I want to emphasize. There's an awful lot of reasons why we feel that you should be considering TeacherMatic, and I know some of you in the room are already using it. Firstly, we've developed this as a platform to allow academic staff to make use of generative AI in a secure and easy to use way. So one thing that we've done is that, as you're probably aware, if you're using free versions of things like ChatGPT, there's very little security there. Anything that you upload, you've lost control over. There's all sorts of GDPR and DPI considerations taken part. So with TeacherMatic, if you've got a TeacherMatic license, everything is secure. Nothing goes beyond the platform. Anything you upload goes nowhere. It's not feeding any LLM, and your data is protected. A key feature, as you will see when I demonstrate it, is it requires no prompt engineering at all. So any teacher who's not confident with digital can very easily get great pedagogically sound content in terms of planning resources, content, carrying out various tasks around assessment in a very, very user-friendly way. And the final thing is that compared with other AI platforms, we've designed TeacherMatic to be as affordable as possible. We want to make the time savings that this platform can deliver, and we've got a lot of research that shows that those time savings, various bits of research showing things between 2 hours and 10 hours per week going on in organisations for academic staff using TeacherMatic. And Hannah will be going through the costings a little bit more detail, but basically you're not going to spend more than £30 a year if you buy more than 50 licenses as a TeacherMatic. It's extremely cheap and a great return on investment. If you think it's saving 4 or 5 hours a week, you pay more than £30 an hour for most of your academic staff. So I want to just talk briefly about how we have developed TeacherMatic and how it's developed over the time. We started working on it just over, well, about 3 years ago now, actually, when we first got together and started working on it. And since day one, we used a co-design model. Now, that means that rather than the 4 founders originally and the larger team, as our team has grown, deciding what academic staff need, we've actually worked with practitioners. So from day one, we got together first with people in education departments delivering teacher training courses to ask them what tools do teachers need that we can build with AI that would be useful to them in their day-to-day life. And then having released TeacherMatic, we've now got over 60,000 users around the world, over 350 organisations subscribe to it. We work closely with those organisations where they give us suggestions for tools that they would like to see us develop. And when we feel the tool would be something useful across many organisations, we partner up with practitioners, with teachers, and more recently with managers as we're developing some management tools to build the tool exactly so it fits the need of people in universities and in colleges. So we use this co-development model where everything is driven by our customers and built in partnership with them. And TeacherMatic can be used across the whole range of an academic or a teaching staff's workload, and more recently, tasks outside teaching. So we've got over 150 different generators covering tasks such as planning, content creation, creating learning activities, creating assessment tasks. We've got a generator that does marking for you and provides detailed feedback on submitted work. We've got generators for learner support, for communication, for quality improvement, marketing, HR, and more recently we've developed a suite of generators for senior leaders. Right, so I'm now going to do a small demonstration. So I'm just going to go on to TeacherMatic and show you a few examples of how it works and what it looks like. So this is the TeacherMatic platform. So you log on normally using your university or college Microsoft account or Google. I think most will be Microsoft, but we work with Google as well. So you've got single sign-on. And normally, if you're inside your organisation, you're already signed on, you're straight into TeacherMatic. And what you're seeing here are our generators. So things like scheme work, lesson plan, email, glossary, image-based content generator, learning activities. I don't have time to list them all. Over 150 different generators designed in partnership with practitioners to do day-to-day tasks. So I'm just going to show you all of these generators in use so you can get a quick idea of what it looks like and how it works. All our more popular generators. And firstly, I'm going to show you the multiple choice generator. When I was an academic, I used to teach psychology. So for all of these, I've chosen Jean Piaget, the Swiss developmental psychologist. And I'm developing some content and doing some marking around Jean Piaget. So if I want 10 multiple choice questions or any number of multiple choice questions, I click on the generator. So you simply go to the generator you want, you click on use, and then a form pops up. And all you have to do is populate that form. So I filled in Piaget. I said I want 10 questions. We've got on many of our generators additional fields that you can fill in to give it more information, and that will give you a more precise, fine-tuned output. But just by putting in Piaget and 10 questions, also selecting the sector, and I've chosen HE first year. If I click on that drop-down menu, you see we've got everything from early years through to postgraduate on there. So I've selected questions suitable for HE first year, clicked on the generate button here, and that's written me in about 15 seconds, 10 multiple choice questions. And a key thing that I want to show you, and again, one of the big advantages of TeacherMatic are that we've got lots and lots of different export options. And again, all of these are driven by our customer base. So you can export these as PDF, Word, Google, into Moodle formats, Kahoot quizzes, Booklet, Gymkit, Blackboard Canvas, Brightspace, and VBox. And so all of those are things that we've been after our customers. Another one of our most popular generators is a lesson plan. And this is quite a sophisticated one where you can really do a very fine-tuned, even if you don't have to produce lesson plans, it can really help you doing planning and thinking about the best way to develop a session. And again, it's a form-based thing where you put in a topic, Piaget's theory of cognitive development. You can add the area of study, how long you want that to be. You've got the opportunity to put in some further information. I've not done that here. Select your sector as before. You can put in a learner group profile. I've not done that. Something I have done, and one of the features we're most proud of, is you can add in the particular SEND requirements for any particular group. And obviously every different group will be different that you teach. And so you can customize that lesson plan to each particular group based on the SEND requirements. And you can also select if you want to add in strategies for higher learners or higher attainers and lower attainers. And I've selected both of that there. You can select the learning environment. So I'm imagining I'm teaching in the university in a large lecture hall. And you can choose if you want to add a pedagogical model. And we've got Bloom's, Solo, Rose and Shine, and social constructivism. And those pedagogical models are available on lots of different generators where appropriate. So in this case, I've chosen Bloom's. I've clicked on Generate. And you see this has produced me a very detailed lesson plan with my learning activities, some differentiation strategies for those learning needs, and then breaks down the lesson into chunks of time with telling me what to do and what resources I will need. Some ideas for the enhancement, extending the lesson, for simplifying it, and how to address Bloom's taxonomy levels. So that's the lesson planning tool. The next tool I want to show you, which unfortunately is just hidden behind the Zoom menu, bear with me a second. Is our PowerPoint presentation tool. And here you simply put in the title for your PowerPoint, the ideas be it cognitive development. You can add some further information, it's very simple. And the slides are on 8. Click on Generate, and this has created me with PowerPoint that got text. It finds appropriate free to use images, so the images don't have any copyright. And as it's PowerPoint, you can then edit that, make it your own. That's one of our more popular generators. And there's that PowerPoint within the online PowerPoint thing, which can be created from within that generator. The next one I'm going to quickly show you is a feedback generator. This is now our most popular generator. We released it about 4 months ago, and we're doing a partnership with Jisc on this in a new project to evaluate this. And this is the one that does the marking. And so I've got a psychology essay on Piaget here. So the options here, I've outlined an assignment brief, or into the assignment title. So I've just done the title. Critically evaluate Piaget's theory of cognitive development, a little bit of information about the assignment. I've uploaded the assignment there, so that's a Word document with the student's work. What sort of feedback do I want, formative or summative? I've selected formative. How do I want this to be graded? I've asked it to select a grading scale. And then we've got lots of different grading scales, all the main ones that you'll use in colleges and universities. And I've selected a percentage grading scale, clicked on Generate, and you see this has now marked that for me. It's given me a summary of what the essay covers. It's broken the essay down into different sections and graded each individual section while giving very detailed feedback. Some of the feedback at the end and a grade at the end. And so we are, in the next couple of months, hopefully going to be creating a bulk upload, so you can upload a whole class's worth of assignments, but currently it's one at a time. But once you've actually done that, you just clear that student and upload another student. So it is actually quite quick to do it with just this individual assignment. And the last one I'm going to show you is sort of a bit of a fun generator, but one of my favourite ones is Ask Someone Famous. And this is one that you can actually use in a classroom or a lecture theatre to get your students interacting with any famous person, living or dead, real or fictional. So in this case, I'm able to get my students to ask questions of Jean Piaget. So I sort of put Jean Piaget in as to who I want to hear from. A question for Jean Piaget: what led you to develop your theory of cognitive development? Click on Generate, and then the AI simulates how it thinks Jean Piaget would answer that question. So this gives you a great opportunity to discuss with your students how accurate is that, how good is AI is at simulating people. it does do a remarkably good job on the whole. And we've got Amanda in the room from Bury University, and when I demonstrated this last week at her university, their colleagues wanted to hear from the Gallagher brothers about sibling rivalry, and we had a very interesting output on that. It worked very well. So a few of the generators, just so you've got an overview, and then just quickly back to my PowerPoint. I've got a couple more slides before I hand over. Just some sort of feedback. There's been various pieces of research done by Jisc, by the Code Institute, by various colleges and universities, different findings between 10 and about 2 hours per week saved. The average is about 4 hours, and the survey we did quite early on showed 3.8 hours. Actually, that can be higher now because we've added a lot of tools since that was done. Some feedback from customers. We've got loads of great feedback. So a director of digital professional development at one of our customers talked about 6 to 8 hours per week saving. A lovely bit of feedback from a lecturer that kind of summarises why we did this. Got my Sunday afternoons back, and a vice principal saying I've not been blown away by something so much for 30 years in her career. We were very proud to win the Learning Technologist Most Innovative Learning Technology Award a few months ago, and that's the real Oscars for learning technology, where we're up against some big multinationals, and this was four guys from FE and HE that built this. We've since then been acquired by Abilene, and we've got a much bigger team behind us. But we've won that award. And as being part of getting the TeacherMatic toolkit, you become part of an AI TeacherMatic community. We do lots of TeacherMatic events. We do termly community webinars. We do monthly deep dive webinars. We have newsletters. I'm very much open to sharing things with you and discussing things with you on a regular basis. I'm sure our colleagues who are presenting will be, if you are not a TeacherMatic and you would like to have a go, please email me at peter@teachermatic. Oops, I didn't spend my email address wrong there. I'm missing that. TeacherMatic, not TeacherMatic. And I will now finish and hand over to Hannah, who will be introducing the next speaker. There's my email spelled correctly, I think. Okay, goodbye everyone, and I hand over to Hannah. Bang on time, I'm pleased to say.
That is bang on time. Well done, Peter. Thank you so much. Yeah, and so now I'm pleased to introduce Laura and Catherine from the University of Chester. So I'll hand over to you guys. Yeah, if you want to share your screen, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sharing right now. Hopefully you can see that.
We can. Thank you so much. Thanks, Laura.
Fabulous. Well, welcome so much to our little part of today. I'm joined by my excellent colleague, Catherine Welsh, who is the AI Education Institutional Lead, and I am Laura Milne, Head of Digital Education at the University of Chester. Both of us work within the Centre for Academic Innovation and Development, and Catherine also works as an academic in geography, so she has experience with this both from the academic innovation side of things and from the practicalities of learning and teaching in this very busy patch of life that we've experienced. So just to note before I actually click on that next, these PowerPoint slides and images were prompted by a human, generated by TeacherMatic, and then amended by humans. So that's something that Catherine and we like to keep the human in the loop, which is very important. And that's just something to say we're using this tool in very regular and direct ways. So we'll briefly talk about our implementation of TeacherMatic at the University of Chester. We'll talk about how our staff are using TeacherMatic, the benefits of TeacherMatic that we've seen in our practice, and then briefly our own reflections about TeacherMatic and how we found it as a tool and how we found it as a learning technology to roll out at the institution. To start off with Peter has already given us a very clear idea of TeacherMatic's core functionalities, but the sheer multitude of generators with various levels of education, increasing the administration, management, and quality related tools, that's very valuable to having a whole institutional response to generative AI. It's not just something that teachers and that teaching staff need to be thinking about, but increasingly professional services and administrative staff might find their ways of working can be improved through using AI sensitively and appropriately. We have frequently called TeacherMatic a little bit like AI with training wheels, because the generators make it so easy to prompt. From an ecological perspective, the fewer prompt iterations, the more eco-friendly your AI use. So in that way, we're actually seeing some sort of climate benefits to the fact that this tool is easy to use. We have outputs that staff can use as a starting point or as an evolution for teaching activities. There might be good practice that they then evolve, or it might be a new idea or a new staff member needing some support as they learn how to do this learning and teaching thing well. Peter also indicated on his first slide the importance of that safety and security. Using TeacherMatic means that we're not feeding the algorithm, we're not giving our intellectual property for free over to tools that then use it to train. So we really appreciate that. It gives us a lot more confidence in using a tool like this for such things as teaching and learning, particularly when it's colleagues' intellectual property at risk or would be at risk if not for using tools like TeacherMatic. So we were part of the Jisc's initial pilot, or Jisc's HE pilot of TeacherMatic. It was fantastic to be involved in that. We were one of, I think, 8 universities, if I'm correct. And during that pilot, we had 50 academics across the university who were using TeacherMatic for teaching and learning prep. We ran weekly TeacherMatic challenges, so we got people to use different generators, maybe generators they wouldn't otherwise used. That was really valuable because it meant that people got to experiment in a bit of a structured way and share their outputs, and then have that sort of sense of being willing to critique and analyze. Then after the first pilot, we extended our pilot, and then it's become more business as usual. It's one of only 4 approved AI tools for use by UOC staff, and that includes Copilot, which we have as our Microsoft Access, and then some more career-specific tools that have been recently approved. And TeacherMatic is therefore heavily promoted as part of our AI training sessions for staff in workshops. Catherine and co have run over the recent teaching and learning conference. We had staff from all across the university testing out TeacherMatic and how it could help them. We are in the process of expanding our use across the institution, including for teaching and professional services colleagues alike. So we've got that sense of shift from AI concerns being something that's focused narrowly on education to being much broader, including lots of business as usual, that the operational side of things. I'll hand over to Catherine.
Thank you. So some of the examples of how we've been using TeacherMatic, as Laura said, it's a core approved tool for staff use. And that from the start has really been the key for us, is trying to find something that was secure to say to staff, you can now experiment using with AI in this secure tool. So that was the real benefit for us, and that has been throughout the pilot and since then. We've used it quite heavily in staff development sessions. So I ran a teacher at the Teaching and Learning Conference a couple of weeks ago. I ran a session which was called Exploring Generative AI for Teaching. And I developed a series of prompt cards some of them were based on the sort of functionality in TeacherMatic. So things like generating content from transcripts. I generated these cards to support staff, and they were really well received. And I think you could just see in the room, just looking at the generators in TeacherMatic, colleagues were like, oh, I hadn't thought about doing that. I hadn't thought about doing that. So not necessarily just about the technology, but it's also thinking, we also sort of saw people starting to engage with the sort of pedagogy a bit more and thought, oh, I could do that, or I could do that. That would enhance my practice. So that was really nice to see. I actually used TeacherMatic to help me co-create these staff development resources as well. And particularly the sort of summaries at the top, that was of each of these cards. It really helped me to speed that process up in terms of creating those resources, because it was quite short notice I made those resources at. So it really featured heavily in our generative AI teaching workshop. We've also used it for generating, or as a starting point for generating teaching materials through a whole range of different subject areas. So we're seeing that happen already. I think next slide, Laura, please. And so through our pilot project, colleagues were using TeacherMatic in a variety of different ways. So they've asked it to we went through a big sort of change to our academic framework and curriculum last year. So colleagues were using it for that. So things like redrafting some course descriptions based on keywords, and producing rough drafts, creating FAQ documents for research methods modules, using it to formulate some competencies based on job descriptions, using it to use the subject benchmark statements to try to identify what the core competencies were for a graduate. Which was then used for our kind of competency statements to feed into our curriculum last year, using it to use things like to generate question banks for multiple choice questions and so on. So a wide variety of ways in which it kind of was used just through the pilot. And Laura sort of set challenges each week for colleagues to use different generators and feedback the results. So that was really nice to see that kind of community growing through those challenges that she set. Thank you. So some of the benefits we've kind of observed with TeacherMatic, as I say, the data for me is the key. Having it ring fenced means that we really can offer staff a safe space to experiment with Gen AI, and that's really important. And it really starts to show staff what's possible with AI in the context of teaching. And for those colleagues who've never had any experience of AI before, which was some of our colleagues recently at our sort of staff development event, it helped to reduce that. Like, well, I don't know how to prompt, I don't know what to do with this. So it gave them, like Laura said, it's kind of with the training wheels on. It gives them that sort of space to just, it's very prompted, it's very structured, but also allows enough flexibility for them to edit the resources as they need to as well, and change them if they need to. I very much felt like it sparked inspiration for teaching enhancement by exploring some of the generators as well. I thought that was that's something that I sort of saw through the development sessions I've ran so far. And then I also really like the fact there's a chat with TeacherMatic prompt there. So it allows, there's a generator there that you can just sort of chat and have a conversation with it like you would with maybe other AI tools. But that allows more experienced prompters to create their own prompts and to develop that further. So the fact that's actually embedded in TeacherMatic is really nice as well, because it's kind of it's all encapsulated in one piece of software. And finally, of course, the TeacherMatic team are so responsive to our requests and queries. And when Peter talked about that partnership and sort of co-creating, we've very much seen that in action, and that's been absolutely fabulous. We've sort of said, can you do this? Could you try that? Is this possible? And, not everything's possible, but lots of things are possible. And when we ask for something, or we say, is this possible? They say, yes, it's done very, very quickly. And so that really helps to keep that sort of innovation moving for us.
So just thinking about some of our stats and our peaks of interest, our top generators at the moment are the MCQ generator, the PowerPoint generator, the rubric generator, learning activities generator, and chat with TeacherMatic. Some of those are used heavily because they were part of the workshop that Catherine led. So there's a clear picture of that, but it's also clear to see how people are using other tools. Those were just the sort of biggest numbers of the last 6 months. We've had various use peaks over our terms with TeacherMatic, including the pilot in January 2024 when it was brand new. That was a peak. Between March and August, we were doing design sprint supports, so that staff were using it to kind of do that rewording as appropriate. And in January, that was part of design sprint 2. Then June and July 2025 maps onto the Teaching and Learning Conference, and just generally a bigger drive for the smart use of AI at the university, and TeacherMatic's a big part of that for the University of Chester. So
we just thought we'd share our favourite generators with you and the reasons why. So I mentioned before, chat with TeacherMatic. I really like the fact that's embedded within TeacherMatic and allows for sort of more experimentation beyond just the generators itself. But the generators I really like are the YouTube content generator. So this allows you to take a transcript, not just from YouTube, but any transcript. So for example, we use Microsoft Stream at the university, so we could use the transcript from that, plug it into the generator, and you can generate things like quizzes, all sorts of different things, lesson plans and so on within that particular generator. And the other one I really like is the image-based generator. So you can select an image. So it could be something like I'm kind of from geography, so I've got sort of scientific background. So it could be a graph, for example, put the image into that, and it can generate things like lesson plans and quizzes based on the image. But also what I really like is this kind of, it gives you an opportunity to output a conversation. So sort of a conversation like a transcript based on the image, which you could then give to students. It will spark interest. It might point things out that they haven't particularly noticed, but also then students can critique that conversation and think about things that they've spotted in there, whether it aligns with their thinking about what they're looking at. Maybe it points out new things to them. So they're kind of my favorite generators at the moment. But the fact that new generators are added all the time is also fantastic, because it just opens up new ideas and sparks new innovation and creativity for people using it. So over to Laura.
Thanks, Catherine. I'm aware we've got about 3 minutes left, so I'll whiz through this. I've got a background in learning design, so things like the lesson planner and the scheme of work are really powerful tools for learning design. And there's a course design tool that's in beta at the moment, which I'm enjoying testing out. And aside from that, the rubric generator is really supportive in terms of educational development, because creating a strong rubric is something that lots of new teachers struggle with, because it is a really difficult skill. So having this as part of the sort of educational development training wheels is also really, really exciting. So into our future objectives, we're piloting the feedback generator with psychology department as part of a research project. So watch the space for our use and review of that data. That's happening over the summer. We've also got plans underway to expand our TeacherMatic use across the institution, and we're exploring opportunities for the business operations side of the university to use TeacherMatic meaningfully. So that's really all very exciting. Last but not least, thank you for having us, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Laura and Catherine. That was brilliant. It's really interesting, and it's great to see that you're part of the pilot with Jisc about the feedback generator. One of Jisc's licensing strategic themes at the moment is assessment and feedback. So it's fantastic to see that TeacherMatic are fitting into one of our licensing strategic priorities as well. Okay, so now thank you so much for that. I'll hand over to Amanda from Bury College.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Peter. I'll just share if that's okay, and then I will get going.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. We can see it.
That's a good start. Okay. Yeah, so thanks for inviting me. So I just thought I'd probably do pretty much what Catherine has just done, really, and it's to go through, I suppose, our journey to date, really, with TeacherMatic and why we chose TeacherMatic. So I suppose, firstly, why did we, choose TeacherMatic as a platform? So obviously, I've not overly talked about cost, but for us, it really tackled this staff need issue with workload. So we were working as a college on a workload kind of in a wellbeing commitment statement. So it kind of formed part of that. So because obviously we found it helped reduce planning time, supported workload management, and obviously boost teaching efficiency. So that was kind of one of the key reasons we originally invested in TeacherMatic licenses. It did align with our digital strategy, so it kind of complemented what we were already doing digitally, and it gave us this kind of AI platform focus, because I think it is a bit of an unknown world out there with AI, and there's so many different platforms, and it's kind of which ones, do you go with, really? As Peter said at the very start, it's designed for teachers, it's designed with educators in mind. So it's not necessarily about the prompts with TeacherMatic. So it's about that, you know, intuitive, you know, everyday tasks we do as teachers. It's kind of thought about them all really, and some of the, you know, things that can take our time really. It does support our business support staff as well, because I think over nearly half of the generators now are non-academic. Again, I think Peter mentioned that at the start. So it talks about leadership generators, marketing, quality. So there's lots of other generators that are now appearing. So currently we are just invested for our teaching staff and purchase licenses for them. And now we're just supporting business support and purchasing business support licenses as well. Obviously, it's based on evidence, TeacherMatic as well. You know, it's grounded in pedagogical best practice, and you know, it's all about teaching and learning. And you know, it does offer great value for money for both, you know, departments and you know, the college as well. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of why we chose TeacherMatic. So, as I've already mentioned, really the benefits for staff in the college are saving time. You know, staff report saving hours. I look at the analytics pretty much every day with TeacherMatic, you know, and it can be as high as 6 point something hours saved on resource creation, scheme of work planning and assessment. We have kind of hit the ground running with marking work, so we are using it for assessment. So that's obviously one of the greatest time savers for staff. I think it enhances quality of resources. So again, this is the benefit for us. It supports consistent, high quality resource creation. Like everything, it needs check-in, it needs that human, you know, interaction, but you know, consistently, it creates high quality resources. Again, I think it was mentioned at the start, but it's about the confidence. So it just allows us, you know, to build confidence without kind of the risk because of the way the platform works. It's really good for supporting our new teachers and our ECTs and our trainees as well. Gives that kind of scaffolding and guidance for our new teachers. It's customizable as well, so you know, you can personalize the materials to meet the diverse, you know, needs of our students, but also in terms of generators. So what we had or what we've had embedded onto our lesson plan generator is we use Solo taxonomy as a framework for lesson planning. So that means that our learning outcomes are all Solo in nature. So that was tailored for us at Berry College. And obviously it complements and integrates into existing practice seamlessly. So again, that's one of the key benefits we've seen for staff in the college. So the impact we've seen so far, we've seen a high uptake and positive feedback from all staff using TeacherMatic. We've seen a real increased collaboration, so sparking lots and lots of discussion, and we're seeing that across different departments as well. So lots and lots of teaching and learning conversations, you know, all talking about good practice. We do something which is where areas share in teams, so they share what generators they've been using and talk about obviously the impact. Definitely had reports on well-being, you know, and that reduced out of hours workloads. You know, staff have said they've got their Sundays back, for example. And we've had uptake across different curriculum areas. So, you know, vocational, academic and support teaching roles as well. So that's the impact kind of so far we've seen across the piece. So these are just some of our case studies, really, again, just to show TeacherMatic in action. So construction have been using the case study generator for some health and safety scenarios. Counselling have really embraced the feedback generator. They've, you know, reported it's really good for consistency. History, they use the inspiration generator for a quiet A-level class. and reported the difference in participation in the group was immediate. Art's a funny area because the art teachers were the ones who were saying it wouldn't work for them. But then again, after a demo, one of the art teachers said she uses the inspiration and asked the expert generators for starters and planning. English have been using the expert again. They've been using that to strengthen evaluation work. And again, you know, an area that, you know, you might not think it kind of is for, but is our apprenticeship provision as well. And they've been using lots of the generators, and they've really liked the data sets for maths, and also the fact that it integrates with MS Forms as well, so they can get it into a forms format straight away. So that was just some case studies from the college. So I suppose why it's worth considering, and again, these were aspects we considered. So I think unlike generic AI tools, it does obviously consider your context. So, you know, as a UK college and you know, universities, data privacy and safeguarding compliant, obviously extremely important. Peter touched on that at the start as well. Everything stays within the platform, so you're kind of not worried about where it's going. What I think we've found, you know, the thing that's great about TeacherMatic is the ongoing support. You know, quite often someone from TeacherMatic will you know, zoom into our Thursday takeaways we have for staff. These are CPD sessions, and they are, you know, always actively supporting. Peter has just, you know, supported us with some help on our CPD day at the end of July. So, and the other key reason it's worth considering is it unlocks AI potential safely. So, you know, it's that oversight for quality, and you know, everyone's kind of got that oversight. So I suppose top tips for implementation. I say this, but perhaps we didn't, but it's to start small. It's starting with those early adopters. I have heard other people speak about TeacherMatic and, you know, they've bought licenses, but I think if people are just left to get on with it, that's where, you know, it might fall down, and it is putting that support within the institution to support people on TeacherMatic, because whilst it doesn't really need much training, it perhaps just needs you know, the push along, shall we say. So it's building that AI confidence with CPD sessions and knowing who to go to for that practical support. Linking to the strategic priorities is a good way to implement. So, you know, we've positioned it within our teaching and learning and our digital strategy. And as I mentioned at the start, our staff wellbeing commitment regarding workload as part of that, and encouraging the sharing. Again, I'd mentioned that earlier. So it's creating that space for staff to showcase and you know, tell others what they've actually been using on TeacherMatic. Because the other thing is it changes quite frequently, because there's always new generators being added. So that's really worthwhile to keep everybody up to date with TeacherMatic. And then I suppose this is more for what we're doing. So for building our momentum with AI and TeacherMatic, we're for the next academic year, we are just kind of continuing with the CPD and some targeted CPD. We'd letting that be peer led, so staff can demo, you know, as a confident user, showcase what they've been doing. We're going to have some departmental champions. And we have a Thursday takeaway where we now have AI as a Thursday takeaway. So it's on the agenda half-termly. We are just reviewing the kind of active use, so what generators are being used, who's holding the licenses, and rolling that out to business support staff. And again, promoting them under used tools through our CPD offer. Gathering those impact stories, because we like to share that with our governors. So I do, you know, an update to governors on teaching and learning, and this features quite heavily in there. And I think Catherine mentioned this, but it's about those analytics, really. It's looking at that time saved, those learning gains, and that staff feedback, because that's really telling you how successful it is, actually. We've also embedded it into our quality assurance processes for next year as well. So our curriculum reviews, observations, and we'll be looking at kind of what's happening on the ground, so to speak. That's it from Berry in a whistle-stop tour of our journey to date, which is probably just over 12 months now. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That was brilliant. Yeah, any questions in the chat and we'll come back to them at the end. And I think this general theme coming through is that everyone's getting their Sundays back. And then when I was a teacher, I wish I could have said the same. So that's great news. Thanks so much, Amanda. So yeah, I guess now I will just pop on and show you how you can order it through Chest. And then after that, we'll open to any questions. So let me just share my screen. If you're not familiar with Chest, I've popped my can everyone see my screen? Yes, I think they can. I've popped my email address in the chat. You can contact me anytime. I can sort you through, tell you how you can get a login. You can only get a login for Chest if you are a Jisc member, which everyone on this call I'm sure is. If you're not a Jisc member, you won't be able to log in because many of our vendors have lockdown pricing. However, TeacherMatic believe in their pricing so much, they're happy for me to share it today on a webinar, which is incredible. So here we go, agreements. Just click on TeacherMatic to find out more. We've got key facts. So through the Jisc or Chest agreement, you are guaranteed lowest pricing available to both the higher education and the further education institutions. I just want to add, this is for new customers. In the coming weeks, we're going to have an existing customers panel. Reasons for that are numerous, but if you are an existing customer pre last week, I'll be sending out more information on the Chest tile on that for you. But for new customers to TeacherMatic, straight on here, key facts. So yes, lowest guaranteed pricing. If you buy a multi-year contract, there's a 10% discount on that multi-year contract. Multi-year upfront purchases are exempt and protected from any increases due to inflation, which is another great aspect of this license. I won't read them all out because they're here for your viewing, and I'm very happy to get you a login if you like one. But another great aspect of this license is it also covers an institution's transnational education campuses. Now, there's a lot of work being done at the minute at Jisc around access to an institution's TNN campuses for software, and TeacherMatic have heard that and been really receptive and allowed their product to be used by campuses linked to a UK institution. So I'll get straight to it. Here's the product and pricing. So all prices are in Great British pounds and they are exclude VAT. So now a 1-year TeacherMatic agreement, depending on how many teachers you purchase for. I think Peter mentioned earlier, between 50 and 100 teachers, you pay £30 per teacher. And obviously it decreases by volume of scale, so it gets cheaper as more teachers are purchased for. TeacherMatic 2-year annual payment. So should you choose to have annual payments, you can see if we're looking at that 50 teachers here to 99, it's cheaper because you're taking out an annual contract. There's a 10% discount on that. Further to that, I won't read them all that. You can get a 3-year annual payment, 4-year annual payment, 5-year annual payment. Again, I won't go through them all. If we have an upfront payment, so here, for example, we have a 2-year upfront payment, not only do you get the 10% discount, you'll also be privy to no inflation. I'd just like to add that if you did take out a multi-year contract, that inflation is only applicable after 2 years, not in the first 2 years. But should you take out a long-term upfront payment, then you won't pay any inflation in the 3rd year, 4th year or 5th year. Okay, so that's very, very, very quick whistle stop, and I know that I've rolled this up and down, but this is going to be recorded, so you can pause and have a look at the pricing hopefully. So I'll just quickly go through here very slowly, and then once that is done, I will stop sharing my screen, and I will open to any questions.